It's the Get Published radio show. And here's your host, Gerald Everett Jones, the guy who has the answers because, well, he's made all the mistakes himself.
On today's show, our topic is love and relationships. Wow, Cheyenne, why did it take us so long to get to this topic?
Maybe we just didn't think we had the answers, but I have a feeling we're going to get some good ones today.
Excuse me, but when it comes to experience, I've got you all beat. I don't have any answers, but I sure do have a lot of good questions.
Well, certainly on radio and TV and now on podcast, relationship advice shows are hugely popular. And among book genres, the how-to of romance, it ranks right up there with murder and mayhem. Joining Cheyenne, Tom, and me in the studio today is an expert, A.G. Billig, who also answers to Andreea, by the way, author of I Choose Love. Welcome to Get Published, A.G.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, A.G., if you don't mind my being blunt, what makes you an expert on love and relationships?
Well, I can put it this way. Same as you guys when it comes to self-publishing. I've done all the mistakes. So I think this might be an answer. And also, the book I wrote, I Choose Love, A Journey from Fear to Love. I've done lots of reading, and usually, people, they come to me, my friends, when they have these problems in their relationships, and they ask, okay, what can I do?
Your accent, now, I can close my eyes. I think it's Ariana Huffington. So you're not exactly from around here, are you?
Not from around here. I was born in Bucharest, Romania, but it feels like I belong here in California, so...
Well, tell us about your media career in Bucharest. I know you've got experience, and tell us how that tied into your life as an author.
I was a radio host and a TV host, and this got me around people, around artists, music artists, painters, and other people in the arts, and that's how I got to meet them. And also being in front of the camera allowed me to be less of an introvert and more of an extrovert. And that's how when my first book, Four Doors and Other Stories, was launched, I decided to have an unconventional event. And I put together actually a performance where I got in the same place dancers, musicians, and myself. So I think the media career helped me have a different outlook on how to promote my books and how a book can be promoted.
So when it comes to advice on relationships and love, do you feel like it's kind of best to tell people what they want to hear or just give them the hard, honest truth?
Well, I would always go for the hard, honest truth because I think that's what really helps, even it can be painful sometimes. But I'm the kind of person who wants the truth.
How would you deal with like a negative reaction? Like if it's your best friend and you tell her something that's really difficult for her to hear, like what's the best way to kind of deal with that fallout and help her realize, you're just kind of trying to give her the best advice possible?
Well, I think it is very important the way you give an advice to somebody, because if you give it like lovingly and in a way that doesn't hurt that person with the energy and the way you're saying the advice, the person is going to take it like more easily. Otherwise, you've been true to your heart, and you have to know that you cannot control their emotions. That's their job.
Well, in your English language book, I Choose Love, it seems like your point of view is, well, shall I say philosophical? Would you go so far as to say it's spiritual?
I say it's rather spiritual, not so much as philosophical, because that's an approach I've been having towards life for the past, I think, 7 years, and it comes from my own personal experience, but also for an extended reading I've done from authors such Neil Donald Walsh, Wayne Dyer, and other people.
I choose love. I mean, who wouldn't? What are the alternatives? I choose hate. I choose indifference. I choose boredom.
Well, as strange as it may seem, the opposite to love is fear. So most people they are not aware, but love is a conscious choice, because ever since we are children, we are conditioned to live in fear. For example, our parents tell us, if you don't do this, you will get punished, or it's this fear of not being accepted, of not being rejected. So later in life, we have to go back to what happened to us and choose differently and choose love.
It's a hard choice because, yeah, like you said, it's so internalized from a young age. So it's that's a very conscious decision you don't really think about.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the process I've been through. And that's what made me write this book, I Choose Love, A Journey from Fear to Love, to help people make this conscious choice.
I love that. So you've become sort of a guru on the subject of self-publishing through doing works like these. What would the best piece of advice be you could give to an aspiring author?
To write from their hearts and to just write the book they have inside. Don't go so much for the trends or for other people say. Just do it. If you feel it's in you, just do it.
What do you think is the single best piece of advice to give to people who are unhappy in their relationships?
The piece of advice would be work on your relationship with yourself. That's the first one you need to work on, and love yourself, and then everything will change.
Tom was asking that because, we, on a previous show, he was saying that he was a midnight disc jockey, and there were a lot of lonely hearts that were calling him. Is there a single piece of useless advice, pointless advice, something that every time you read another relationship book, you go, why are they even saying that?
I've been thinking about this, and I think that all pieces of advice are wrong when a person is not ready to hear that advice.
You have to want to change first.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's not useless so much as in the general sense. It's just in the particular, for the particular audience member, the one that's hearing it, maybe they might be hearing it at the wrong or the inappropriate time. They can't take it in. So, AG, after the break, I think we want to get into a little bit more of this lesson learned, the fact that you made all the mistakes yourself, but at the risk of getting too much information. So we want to hear a whole lot more.
Of course.
Get Published Radio will be right back after this message.
Get Published is all about helping you. You get published. And these days, the way to go is self-publishing, where there are no agents or editors or big publishing houses telling you can't, or making you feel like you're not good enough. Going back in history, many famous authors were self-publishers. With his own printing press, Benjamin Franklin published Poor Richard's Almanac in 1732, long before he was a famous statesman. That's how we know Ben's sayings, such as, "Fish and visitors smell in 3 days." Seriously, if you want to change your life or change the world or both, it's a great time to get in the game. Ebooks are particularly easy. With a click, you can reach a worldwide audience. Did you know that there are more people in China who read English than those of us who use the language in all the rest of the world? So if you've got a story to tell, write that memoir or that novel that's been percolating in your head. And if you're an established professional, or if you have a job you dislike or no job at all, give us that business or technical or even political book that establishes you as an expert who deserves serious attention. Yes, it's easy to get published, but understand you'll need help if you want professional results. Editors and copy editors help you clean up your prose. Book designers make the product eye-catching. And publicists help you be heard above all that social media noise. We have those support resources on our website, getpublishedradio.com. And there we've also got a request for services form where you can get personal attention for whatever might be keeping you from getting it done. That's why we say getpublishedradio.com is your doorway to unlimited self-expression. Hey, it's all about the First Amendment. Use it or lose it.
Welcome back to Get Published, where it's, all about getting published.
I think the most single useless piece of advice I get on bashed up relationships is get over it.
Yeah, but I think it's also true, and I think the problem with the advice and with books in general. So if we hear this stuff or if we read stuff, but if we don't practice what we read or what we hear or what we think it's really good for us, then we are not going to get over it. That's true, and nothing in our life is going to change. So we have to act.
And I think what you said earlier about loving yourself being the first step to really having a successful relationship is so important. It's probably the part we neglect the most. When we're in a relationship, we're so concerned with making sure we're taking care of the other person that we forget we have to do the same, and then it becomes difficult for sure.
And when we're out of a relationship, you're dealing with emotions.
Right.
And you don't get over them. They go away when they're tired of bothering you. They're the ones that run it.
Well,
you go head to head with your own feelings, you're going to lose every time.
But they are going to run it over if you allow them to. But you don't have to. Not all relationships are meant to last for a lifetime. Every relationship, especially the difficult ones, they are meant to teach us something, and they usually teach us something about ourselves. And about
that karmic visitation, you've got to pay those dues. Isn't it very much of a New Age ethic? I mean, some of us who were schooled in more conventional Christianity, I mean, part of that lesson is, you are as, in the eyes of God, you are as filthy rags. I mean, there's this whole medieval even ethic of the congregation has to understand that the church is the authority, and your individual ego, your individual aspirations really are not of any value unless they happen to coincide with the will of God. So, I mean, certainly Eastern Europe, where you grew up, I mean, there's a lot of conservative thinking there, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. But I never bought into that. So there is something inside
How did it
of me.
happen that you didn't buy into it?
I don't know. I think we all have this inner voice. All the time it is the voice of our heart. And we have this inner innate knowledge that knows what the truth is. So when we get rid of all that's not ours, of all the garbage, of all the ideas, of all these ideas, and we get in touch with this inner voice, then we kind of know the truth. We don't have like a scientific evidence for it, but we know it's there, and that's how I connected with it. So somehow I knew it all the time.
Does that help you, Tom?
Yes. Yes, it does. I'm just going to feel sorry for myself a little
No,
longer.
you don't have to. And I think the book can help you, because everything I'm saying now it's in a nutshell, but the books talks in detail about every aspect I mentioned.
Well, Tom, I was just wondering whether this "get over it" fella wasn't said by the dame, on her way out the door.
Oh, good. Quite often it is. No.
I mean, that's kind of,
She said, "Get over it," and she said, "Hey, I did."
Isn't that? That was the message.
You can do it too. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's often been said it's easy to fall in love. We don't fall out of love, we just lose enthusiasm.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I think that's kind of practical, right?
I mean, yeah, it's like Andreea said, not every single relationship is meant to succeed.
Absolutely.
And
That's
I think
a good
we
point.
go into relationships with people with so much hope that this could be the person I spend the rest of my life with, that sometimes we kind of force it to work when it's not working. And that's kind of where that inner voice you were talking about comes into play, just that gut feeling like I need to move on and work on myself. But I think there's so much benefit, though, that comes from being in a healthy relationship. Would you say that a fulfilling, healthy relationship is something that can help you, excel in your career and make these other achievements in your life?
Yeah, definitely. How do they say it? So behind every successful man is a great woman. It is a great woman. Yeah, but
Is a supermodel, yes, of course.
That's how it goes.
supermodel in all
Or a trophy
regards.
wife.
There's a whole bunch of failed relationships. That's what's behind it.
No, but I think that harmony and joy and balance in every aspect of our life makes us, let's say, successful in everything, including relationships. But definitely a good and healthy relationship is going to make us feel better and give us the inner peace that will allow us to, to grow and to nourish our talent and to excel in everything we do.
Yeah,
Well,
you're confident because you have that support behind you. Yeah.
Well, my take is that we can be confident without anybody else's support if we connect to our heart and to our inner wisdom, and that's when we get the support from other people, because people they will be drawn to us like we were a magnet.
Because you have a good relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
But
What
certainly
is your
there is this synergistic relationship where, they'll call them a power couple, complementary talents, personalities.
Yep.
But then also, even with those types of relationships, you will hear people talk about growing, and then they grow past each other. Now, what about that kind of a situation?
Well, maybe they, as I said earlier, maybe they were together for a while to learn something, to grow together, and at some point they don't need to be together anymore. Because what's this idea anyways about, okay, let's grow all together and let's spend the rest of our life together?
Yeah.
We've seen it in movies, we've seen it in books, but is it real? Is it real? What if this is not real? What if this is just a dream? They sold us to make us feel better, at some point. Oh, here's our relationship ending again.
I think those relationships exist, but it's not as common as we portray it to be in media. I think it's very rare to find two people who can really grow with each other their whole lives and not, want to take different paths. So I think we've just portrayed it as the norm, and that's not necessarily true.
Well, it is real from the standpoint of like the boomer generation, Tom and myself. When you're faced with the prospect that one of you may have a devastating reverse of health, the idea of a marriage vow that says I'll be there for you, that can be a comfort. But then, of course, we know of relationships where something like that happened and the other person just walked.
Yeah, that's always crazy to me, to have, someone that's been together for however many years and one person, say, gets cancer and they leave, the other partner leaves. Like, how could you truly love someone and be able to walk away?
They don't make movies about that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really learn about relationships unless you have several. I think you really
That's
have
what I
to,
said. I've done all the mistakes.
You got to try it out. Yeah.
And who do you get along with? And it may be surprising.
Well, Andreea, after the break, if you don't mind, we're going to talk behind your back, and we could please tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Well, they can find me online, www.agbillig.com. And also for those who want help and need help and support with their self-publishing endeavors, they can find me at selfpublishingmastery.com.
We love it. Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank you very
me.
much. Very helpful.
Get Published Radio will be right back after this message.
In all the history of the world, with today's technology, it's never been easier to get published, to self-publish your printed book, ebook, audiobook, even multimedia ebook. And not just novels and memoirs or how-to books and histories, although if that's what you've got, let's have it. But also poetry, spoken word, graphic novel, cartoons, children's picture book, interactive video, games, virtual reality, and imaginative mashups of all this stuff. Get into the game. Along the way, you'll no doubt need some professional help from an editor, a book designer, a publicist. But isn't the investment in yourself worth it? How about you take the money you'd spend on your next vacation and get famous instead? GetPublishedRadio.com. That's our support website where we've got links to all the resources you'll need. And don't forget that request for services form if you crave some personal attention. That's GetPublishedRadio.com. Hey, it's all about the First Amendment. You can use it or lose it.
Runke Productions, the audio magicians, can take your radio shows, podcasts, audiobooks, and ads from the streets of New York to the outer reaches of the galaxy.
I think we need more echo at the end of that.
Look, visit us at runkeeproductions.com.
I still think we need more cowbell.
Welcome back to Get Published, where it's, well, all about getting published.
So guys, the thing that occurs to me here, and I remember I was thinking back to our spirituality and metaphysics show where putting on my cynical book marketing hat, okay, nobody ever lost a buck telling people what they want to hear, okay?
This is true.
And, you've got a lot of, and this is the problem I have, for example, with some of the life after death stuff, okay? Because, well, they weren't really dead, because if they were really dead, they wouldn't have come back, but, and I know that Dennis felt, not quite that way. But, in terms of AG in her book, she's very much on the positive. But there's that other side of love and relationship. If I think of the talk shows, is the other side of it is like vicious gossip about other people. It's like it's not what they want to hear about themselves, but they want to hear the dirt about their neighbor or their neighbor's relationship. And is that just like bald-faced commercial, or what's up with that?
I think it's part of the need people have, like a major theme in breakups is after someone breaks up and they want to go out and talk bad about the other person, like, oh, she was crazy, or he was, this or that. So I think once people are out of a relationship and they were kind of trying to control someone, once that person says enough, pushes them out, breaks up with them, they have this need to no longer control that person, but control what other people think of that person.
Ooh,
yes.
That's deep.
I
Yes.
read a social anthropologist made this statement that he was convinced that a lot of women, he called it gossip, what they refer to as gossip, really is how information was conveyed in the ages before phones, before writing, before stuff. It was conveyed by talk. And he said in the cases of social breakups, for example, within a tribe, within a group, have impact.
Yeah.
Well,
because it's a shift of power if it's that kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that it was women who were given the task, either willingly or not, to be the conveyors of information.
Yeah, I think that
And
could
it goes among tribes. You get like start of the Comanches. Something happens, it makes it all the way up to the Sioux reservation. And that it was women that this is the origin of gossip.
Here he goes,
They said
getting
it was,
scientific on us again.
No, it's great.
Of course, I believe it's all nonsense.
But this also relates to one of our favorite topics, which is social media and fake news. And what is most of the stuff that you see on Facebook but gossip?
Most of it
now,
is-
it may be
it is-
gossip
yes.
promulgated by some news organization because they've picked up something from some blog feed that they didn't cross-check, but we're up to our ears in gossip these days.
It's one thing I've noticed lately. I've seen this a lot on Facebook, and it's very interesting to me. A lot of neighborhoods, like residential communities, will have Facebook pages where the residents can go and talk about problems in the community. And I love going and looking at these sometimes because some of the stuff on there is just absurd. Just like the need people have to be in other people's business or the things that offend them. It's just so
Well,
funny
the
to me.
positive side of that, though, is there's that I think isn't it nextdoor.com where it's it's almost like a community association meeting, and you can post lost pets the garbage can at such and such an address. They've left it out there for a week. Why didn't they take it in? All this little stuff, but there's kind of we're a little bit off love and relationships here, but one of the things that actually an internet expert back in the early days, this was a guy who was involved with some of the political campaigns. He said people feel disempowered, but when it comes to the garbage can or removing that tree stump, if they can get together with other people and achieve that, then they start realizing they can have an impact on other things.
There you go. So I think the point of the story is just tell your husband to take the cans and he won't end up on Facebook.
Well, yeah,
that's my relationship advice.
relationship
Also,
story.
it makes lonely people feel like they're a part of the group.
Yeah,
People
community.
sitting here,
Yeah.
listening to the radio, looking at Facebook.
Community activism, yes.
People don't
love
wanna-
yourself, love your community, love your neighbors. I'm ready for that.
That sounds good to me.
That sounds like democracy. That actually sounds like a Jimmy Stewart movie to me.
Definitely not hooey.
Hooey. I love that word.
Hooey.
That was in, what, is that from the 40s? Hooey?
Hooey? It
It's,
might even be before
40s or 50s. I don't know if it's, be that way.
Well, it's not hooey that we're putting out here. Until next time.
Then we'll have some ready to go next time.
Yeah. Grade A hooey.
Better hooey.
And that's our show. Get Published is all about self-publishing and self-expression. And that getting published and the ease of getting published these days is really all about exercising the First Amendment in this free society of ours. What we need these days are more ideas. Even though we're deluged with information, we need more good ideas. And we need debate about those ideas. Book-length debate, not just snippets that are posted on social media, not just selfies and cute pictures of your pets, the things that you really think. And remember, because in self-publishing there are no gatekeepers out there, that is the good news and that is the bad news. So hire some good help. Perhaps you found that here. You may find it on the website, whatever you're looking for, whether it's an editor or a book designer or somebody help you promote. But hire good help, get good advice, and by all means, please get published.
The Get Published radio show with Gerald Everett Jones is produced by Runkey Productions. Our producer is Lori Marple and your announcer is Bill Navarro. Music by Jason Shaw. You'll find links to support services on our website, getpublishеdradio.com. So whether you're an author, a publisher, or a self-promoter, get help at getpublishedradio.com. And thanks for listening.